Welcome to Season 1 of Garth and Sue Talk, a new series by Psych Sessions, where we bring up a topic of conversation and then we just riff. These are the water cooler conversations that you have with colleagues in your department. These are the chats you might have at the bar after a good day at a teaching conference. So, please pull up a seat as we talk about teaching. We're back. Sue and Garth, why am I referring to myself in third person? Here we go. I'm guessing this was your idea, the whole cheating topic, and I'm guessing this has come out of some recent events for you, or maybe these are long-term. Do you want to talk about what's going on and why you are thinking about cheating these days?
Well, of course, it's a perennial topic, right? Mm-hmm. And lots of discussion happening right now at colleges, especially with so many more people going to remote learning, remote teaching, online. Lots of questions about how do I know if my students are cheating or not? And of course, all of this is assuming the illusion that if students are, say, taking a test in class, that the students are not cheating. But we know that plenty of them are. And when most of us are back in the classroom, you and I can have a conversation about cheating in the classroom. Mm-hmm. But I've been thinking a lot about cheating just in general. So you and I both do this inner teaching thing where we give students questions in advance and they write answers. Well, some students, rather than think about the questions themselves and use what they're learning to write the answer, some are taking let me Google this approach and see what I can find. So there's the usual copy content from Wikipedia, and that's really easy to find. But I've had a rash of students lately using Course Hero and Chegg, both of whom bill themselves as helpful tutor sites. What they really are is cheat sites, because for a monthly fee, students can send their assignment prompts, and their experts on these websites will reply in a couple hours with the helpful suggested answer, which then students, of course, just copy and paste. So there are two things that I want to talk about. One is prevention. What can we do to help students not do that? Yeah. And then the other is detection. Yeah.
I was poking around for this conversation, and I found in the Chronicle there was an article that had something to do with this. I'm not sure if it was just in this pandemic time, but it was about face-to-face cheating, and they had some students go in who were they were charged to cheat, and the instructors weren't going to know it. And one of the people who was a grad student at that point in time who was charged to go in and cheat hired one of these online sources to do the work for him. And what they found was that the instructors who were teaching that course, they could find the plagiarism, they could find some of the typical cheating behaviors, but they could not detect they can't detect someone who is in a situation that you're describing, where they're sending in prompts and somebody's answering it and shooting it back to them. Obviously, they just can't, even when they know that there are cheaters, which I'm sure creates even more problems. If you like antennae are up and you're thinking there are cheaters out here, you may not be looking at the right spot. So anyway, all that to say, yes, detection and prevention. That's what we're talking about. And I'd have a question for you. When I am on Twitter or social media and I am looking at, particularly I'm thinking about people who are running teaching and learning centers who are saying we are too fixated on cheating right now. I know that they are talking to people outside of psychology too, and STEM faculty have it's a whole different game, I think, that they're playing than what we are. But, there is this... Another article I was looking at was just talking about the paranoia of thinking that your students are cheating and how that can be a really dark place to go. So, before we get into the specifics of prevention and detection, how should we be thinking about cheating? What do you think?
I totally understand the paranoia problem, but most of our students are not cheating. I am very confident that most of my students are not cheating, but I know that some of them are.
Yeah.
And I caught a handful this summer, and we can talk more about that.
Uh-huh.
So out of the 80 students I had this summer, I caught 3 cheating. So did I miss some? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I am still pretty confident that 90% of my, and based on nothing whatsoever,
right.
no actual data, I'm confident that 90% of my students were not cheating. And probably part of that is just out of self-preservation. I have to believe that most of my students are not.
Well, if we don't, now we have a faculty workload issue, right? Because if we believe that there's major cheating going on, we're going to spend so much energy catering to that to that group of people that we're gonna give up something else in the course from an energy perspective, I think. But I do see also this pride from coming out from some people who are saying, hey, stop thinking about cheating so much. Think about prevention more. And I shouldn't say pride, I should say a little bit of an arrogance about it. We do also have to recognize where faculty are, that at different stages of our career, having a student who's cheating is, and maybe earlier career, it was more offensive to me then, and I was more serious about it then than I am now, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. It feels like a personal affront is what it feels like. It's like they're trying to pull something over on me personally. Yeah. And it is so hard not to take it personally.
Very Western of you. Very good.
But in practice, in practice, students aren't thinking about their instructor when they're cheating.
No.
Many of them are really stressed, and they do it out of desperation.
Yep.
In the summer, I think that I had 2 out of my 3 students, that was absolutely the case based on their reaction when they were caught. Not that it was a legitimate excuse, but it was a reasoning behind what happened. And I feel like that can be better addressed. In the future, when you feel stressed, here are some strategies. With the 3rd student, he never owned up to it. Near as I could tell, he was doing it throughout the entire quarter. And for him, I would put that under a character flaw.
Yeah.
But for the other 2 students, no, it was completely stress-based.
So let me ask you a question. When you are dealing with these moments in your class where you've identified that a student is cheating, what is your process there at Highline for reporting that? I find that a really difficult process, like everything about it. I find it's a time suck. I don't really understand what's going to happen with that student. I don't want them to get harshly judged for the offense if it was at all innocent. How do you think about the reporting side of this?
If it seems like the student has plagiarized something, they've copied something off of a website, and maybe they put the citation for the website, but they didn't put it in quotation marks, I take that as an accident and not an active attempt at cheating. And so that I don't report. But for something where they're using a website like Chegg, and just as a little tip here, with Chegg, because it's behind a paywall, you can't see the answers, but you can see the prompts. So if you think that a student did not write an answer, don't search for the answer, search for the prompt.
Wow. And these are prompts that I imagine you have written, and they're making that feels a little more personal.
Yes. So now Chegg is using my prompts to advertise students to pay for their site. And there's something about the paying for, and I've lost your question. We'll have to come back around to it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because websites like Chegg and Course Hero just send my blood pressure through the roof, because students are paying money for it. And that makes it feel a little different to me than I just Googled something. Yeah. This is a student who has had to go out, pay somebody money to get access to these answers. And these sites are using what I have written to advertise to students to pay money to get answers. So with Course Hero, they make it pretty easy, because you can do basically a copyright complaint, because I've written those prompts I can ask Course Hero and Chegg to remove the prompt, which means they also remove the answer because I wrote it. It's a copyright violation. Course Hero makes it easy to do that. They have a nice web interface for it. Chegg does not make it easy. You got to fill out a PDF and email it to them or fax it to them or send it to them in snail mail. So part of my question, and you can think about this. So part of my question about why I wanted to talk with you about this is, do I leave the questions up at Chegg or not? So what happened this past summer is for these 3 students, they all used the same answer from Chegg. That's how I know that they cheated.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful from my perspective because all 3 answers pop up. I'm like, okay, I know where they got this. And between you and me, I also pay for a subscription at Chegg right now, so I can see all the answers. So part of me wants to leave the stuff up on Chegg because it's easy for me to see that indeed they have cheated. But part of me also is just irritated that Chegg is using my work to advertise their wares. So I'm in conflict here. Do I tell Chegg, take all my stuff down? Do I tell them to take most of the stuff down and leave a few up as bait, shall we call it?
Yeah.
But I also know that some of my students, because they are using the site, they would pay to have somebody there answer the question.
Yeah.
So
do you know how much they're paying? How much are they paying?
Well, I'll go ahead and take a quick look here. With Chegg, you pay a monthly fee and you can ask so many questions, but you get access to their entire database. So you can see everything that's there for your monthly subscription, but with your monthly subscription, you can also get custom answers.
Yeah. Any discipline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And they have it's tiered. So if you pay more, then you can ask more questions each month. So I want to say that it's $5 a month, and you get their entire database for free, everything that's already been answered. Plus, you get to ask 5 questions of your own, I believe.
Oh my goodness, that's not even much. That's crazy.
And then if you up it to maybe $20 a month, you can ask 20 questions, something like that.
Yeah, that is much cheaper than I would have thought. Okay. Yeah, so the cheating conversation is multifaceted. It makes our job as instructors even more difficult, which is, I know we're going to get to the prevention part, whereas you can save yourself time down the line if you do some things. Now, to your question of, do you pull them down? I could see some people maybe thinking about the ethics of leaving it up, but I'm okay with that. This is an ethically gray conversation, or maybe black and white. I don't know, but I think my question for you would be, how much new content are you needing to create on a regular basis because of this? And if you start asking them, does it change your workload if you leave it up and catch students versus having them take it down and doing that regularly? Does that impact the kinds of questions that you need to write moving forward? Is there any difference for you there? No,
there's no difference. It's going to be a lot for me to ask Chegg to take all the stuff down. It's going to be quite a workload, because for every web page, every prompt that I have that's up there requires a different PDF. So it's going to require quite a bit for me to take it down, but it's like the tide, right? So you take all that stuff down, and these are all students who paid to have these questions answered in the first place.
Yeah.
So another round is going to come through where students are going to say, I want to pay to have all of this stuff answered.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm inclined to just leave it up there, because if I do, I can go in right now and I take it back. I think it's a little more expensive than what I thought. Right now I'm paying $15 a month, and I've only done this for 2 months, because what I'm thinking about doing is going in searching for all of my questions, making downloads of all of the answers, and then stopping my subscription.
Yep.
So that way I can just search my own computer for the student answers.
Well, yeah, and it seems like if you leave them up there, you will, just as you did this summer, you'll get more familiar with the answers that they are coming up with. And even though those students may think, jackpot, I just hit the question that is being asked, you'll have seen it 33 different times.
Right.
So that answer 33 different times. So, yeah. So are you leaning that way to leaving them up?
I'm leaning that way right now, just because it means a little less workload for me. I just need to go in and save a whole bunch of pages to PDFs.
Yep. Okay, so are we talking detection then right now? I think we're talking detection. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of detection? And I know it's different. It like every type of assignment has different detection needs. For us, the way that we structure our courses, it's a lot of writing. So what else do we need to say about detection? Obviously, there are more obvious and less obvious, and we're talking about the less obvious here. You're saying repetition when you see things repeated. Anything else for detection that we're missing here?
Not that I've been thinking about, but I'm sure we're missing something.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, and I think this is the fun part of the conversation, which is where we get to be creative. Prevention of cheating. What are your best hacks, your favorite things that you've done for prevention?
I don't have anything favorite right now. Well, okay, so for in the classroom, on the in-classroom test, I would have students sign their name at the top of their test before they started the test. And that's all based on the self-awareness research, that when you put people in a position where they are more self-aware, and they've used signatures to do that, they've put mirrors in front of people's faces, they had them listen to their audio, their own voice audio, and then give them the opportunity to cheat in some way that's clear they're not going to get caught, that people are much less likely to cheat the more self-aware they are. So I've been thinking about ways to increase self-awareness for online assignments. And I don't have anything great yet, which is why I wanted to bounce some ideas off of you.
Mm-hmm.
So all this self-awareness research is showing that it only makes a difference if it is done at the beginning, before the opportunity to cheat. So anybody who signs their name first, given the opportunity to cheat, they're less likely to cheat. If they're given the opportunity to cheat and then sign their name at the end, they are less likely to go back and change anything because they've already made a commitment. There's the challenge in an online course. What I've been thinking about doing is having something that students write at the top of the page, like an integrity statement, for instance, whatever that would look like.
Mm-hmm. I
found some great quotes that may or may not, well, they may or may not actually be accurate quotes, but purportedly, Sophocles wrote, "I would prefer even to fail with honor than to win by cheating."
Interesting.
And to just think about, is there something that I get students write at the top of their page, but I could absolutely see where students would do that piece last. If I made it the first question, so it's actually part of the assignment.
Yep.
Then maybe they would do it first. And of course, all of this is testable, right?
Of course.
And thinking about other things like having students add a photo of themselves, but for anybody who grades anonymously, that's not going to work.
Right. Okay. So I love that research that you were just talking about and I haven't thought about how you bring that into online, but you're right. There is like, if the first question of the assignment could be do a 10-second video and just tell me about what you learned in this assignment. But you're right. It's there's no way to control whether it's preceding the work. In fact, the way that was worded, it's actually following the work. But again, these are things that we're testing, right?
Right.
But I love that idea, like making it personal. And then I wonder at what level does that switch happen where there is self-awareness? between a quote, developing your own kind of sentence, developing your own like video where you're putting your face on something, or where you're addressing your instructor specifically. It seems like there would be this continuum of kind of self-awareness.
And then I thought about, what if I had them put a photo of somebody that they respected? Would that be close enough? So if in the very first question it's identify, add a photo of somebody that you respect and say a few words about why you respect them.
Oh, this is interesting. This reminds me of some positive psych stuff, which isn't in necessarily an intro psych all the time. And you and I teach a lot of general psych. So, but yeah, so the gratitude kinds of things. You know how students will sometimes ask us things like, am I in a study right now? Are you studying me? Well, here we might actually be kind of doing this. And what it could be is, I could see, and I'm just shooting from the hip here, but hey, students, we are not going to have the time to study this great area of psychology called positive psychology this year. So every prompt in all of our assignments is going to have you start by sharing with me somebody who you really look up to, who is whatever kind, and I don't know, whatever those things are. And it doesn't even have to do anything with the assignment. It could just be, and it would be, I think we could probably say from positive psych research that if you get the right prompt, it is actually going to have a positive effect on the student to engage in something like that. I don't know what you think about that, but
I think it'd be pretty easy to come up with a question. It could even just be, I just want to have an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. So this is
there you go.
For 1 point extra credit, very first question, who is it that every assignment, give me a photo of somebody else that you really respect and a few words about why.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, you can make it really, really simple that way. If you wanted to, you could look at the content of the section or the chapter that you're covering. If there is some sort of thing that could pull together the content and that person and that prompt, could be nice, but not necessary is what I'm hearing. Yeah. Are you think you're going to do it this fall?
I want to do something, and okay. I got about 10 days to decide.
Not difficult, actually. The prep time for you to put something like that in is it's not going to cost you much, and it won't cost you much in terms of grading either. So, and you know, students do love to share about their lives, their families, what's important to them, and tapping that can only help engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out to Charlie Blair Broker. One of the things that he does before a test is he tells his students, you're taking 2 tests today. One is a test of your knowledge. The other is a test of your character.
It's good.
Yeah. And, you know, in a face-to-face class, I would probably do that. I don't know what kind of impact it would have in an online class.
Yeah. And we know Charlie, and by the time, well, and that really does come from Charlie, right? And so, and I'm guessing Charlie face to face, that's how that quote would be most powerful,
Sure.
Just because of who he is. And yeah, so I agree that it could work better in maybe in that situation, but it gets at it, right? It does get at this prevention. You don't want to let that teacher down either.
Right.
Yeah. You know, there's other things that, you know, people talk about when it comes to preventing cheating, like don't have big stakes assignments. Those probably lead high stress. You already talked about that. Probably leads to more cheating when there's more on the line. You know, you can scaffold assignments and you know, ask students to do a little bit at a time, and maybe that would decrease it. Anything else that you can think of? Or you personalize a lot of your prompts. You make them really, really personal to students' lives. Do you think that does a prevention job for you?
I don't, it might. It certainly makes detection easier.
Yeah.
Because if a student is writing a certain way and you get a sense of who they are, and then they drop something in that is so different that the antenna go up.
Yep. Yeah. Interesting.
I was reading I came across a study also in preparation for this. I came across a study where they were talking about the different stake levels, and they manipulated how much was at stake. And interestingly, the absolute low stakes and the high stakes were both, participants were more likely to cheat in both of those conditions. It was the middle stakes where they were less likely to.
I'm going to guess that one end is cognitive dissonance and the other end is anxiety or something
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you didn't make this worth enough, so it's not important.
Right.
And the other side is, this is so important, I need to cheat for it.
Right.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Then in practice, in any course, what is the student going to interpret as being super low stakes or super high stakes? And how do you decide what is middle stakes for your particular course? And of course, it's going to vary from student to student, right?
Yep. Yeah.
My 60-point assignment is going to be really high stakes for some, really low stakes for another, and probably middle of the road for everybody else. So,
right. Yeah, I'm sure there's a way that you can talk about your assignments to kind of give the impression, but I also think it's hard for students to learn to go from class to class to class to understand what 5 points means in this class out of 100 versus 1,000, right? And that's we do expect a lot from them in that way. I do not envy our students who have to go to 3 or 5 different courses in a term and get what every individual instructor with varying degrees of clarity, expertise in their own online teaching, and try to align themselves with each one of those. So, yeah, that is tough. What else? What else do you want to talk about before we shut this thing down today?
That's it. That's all I've got. I got some ideas. I really appreciate your time. I got some things that I think I'm ready to implement, give a go for this fall.
Yeah.
And maybe come January, we can do a quick check-in and see how it went.
Well, I am feeling a little bit inspired. I may follow you down this road of question 1 being something that brings a little bit of self-awareness to students. So, yeah, we'll catch up via email. I'm sure once I sit on this for a minute, if I have an idea, I'm sure I'll want to run it by you. So, anyway, thanks, and we'll do this again soon.
All right, thanks, Garth.